right, DC Universe fans, welcome back. We are here to talk about Wave 4. And before jumping in, I want to apologize for the video on Wave 3. The sound was terrible on that one. But I've gotten rid of the old microphone, I've gotten a new microphone, and as you may have seen, I have a new amazing opening that was done by Steve Jimenez. So thank you, Steve, for doing that. It's awesome. We'll see that on future DC videos. And with that little announcement out of the way, let's jump in to Wave 4. Wow, Wave 4 had a lot of figures. I mean, like, a lot. For what was supposed to be 5-figure waves, we snuck in more characters into this wave than, well, we probably were legally allowed to do based on the tooling budget. But hey, it was very, very creative toy making, and that's what it's all about. So let's talk about this wave. We had characters like Cyborg, we had Captain Atom, also one of my favorite DC characters. He just kicks butt, especially in the JLU cartoon. Batman Beyond, from the Bruce Timm show, who had made his way into the DC universe proper. And of course, Princess Diana herself, the Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's baddie, Ares. And then a Collect and Connect Despero was going to round it out. Well, we actually weren't done yet. There's more characters to come. But first, let's talk about some of the top-line stuff. Of course, we still had that edict from our great partners at Warner to get a Batman or Superman in each wave, and this wave's lucky contender was Batman Beyond. And this was one of the only waves where we actually got to get out a different character as a variant. I don't know if we ever did that again, except in this wave. But we'll get more into that in a moment. First, let's talk about our headliner, the Princess of Themyscira herself, Wonder Woman. Yeah, we were excited to tackle Wonder Woman. She did use some parts from the Harley Quinn figure, but she was going to help us build up that female buck that we'd be able to reuse. Now, it was definitely a dream project to do the Wonder Woman from the old TV series, but that was going to take years before Mattel actually was able to do that. For now, we were talking about a comic book version, and well, actually, this one here is the Superpowers repaint that we did years later. Hold on a second. Let me show you first the actual one we did. There we go. The one with gold highlights. So this is the version from Wave 4. And yeah, she came loaded. She had a shield. She had an axe. Her whip was attached to her permanently, something that a later release of Wonder Woman was going to, shall we say, fix or improve upon. And as I mentioned a slide ago, we later did a repaint of her in kind of classic 80s colors on the Superpowers card. And later on, even after that, there were plenty of more Wonder Woman figures that Mattel did, including movie figures, including ones that were a little buffer, which I know was kind of one of the complaints of fans for this version of Wonder Woman, that she wasn't quite as buff as she needed to be. And a big part of that was because we needed to have that standard female buck this early in the line, and we couldn't afford to do her as a fully tooled figure, which I'm sure you will laugh at because we will be getting to a fully tooled figure soon. All right, and as a chase figure in this wave, as I was mentioning, we had a very unique figure in the fact that it was a character that was a different character, not just a variant, and that being Artemis, who is one of the other Amazons and sort of an occasional, call it a frenemy of Wonder Woman. You know, sometimes an enemy, sometimes a friend. She was in the movie more as a friend, but over the years she's had different roles. But she was a variant of Wonder Woman by doing a different head, but she also had her own arrows and her own bow. So she had a lot of newly tooled parts for what was a variant. And I know a lot of fans often ask why the arrows had to be permanently adhered into the bow, and that was for safety reasons. Because Mattel tests all of their items for 4+, even though this was aimed at adult collectors. And so because of that, for safety reasons, the arrows needed to be permanently affixed into the bow. And you saw this on other lines too. All right, so rounding out the Wonder Woman section of the wave, there was always pairings. This was something that DC, Warner, and Mattel all wanted. It was kind of a shared goal. And wow, gosh, did we spend a lot of tooling. I mean, Ares was a fully tooled figure. I don't know how we did this in year one. I mean, it was a big, big chunk of change to throw down on Ares, but he really was an amazing looking figure, for so early in the line. And hey, now you could have, your classic standoff of Wonder Woman versus Ares, the god of war, on your shelf. And boy, enjoy him, because yeah, we weren't going to be doing that many fully tooled figures. Personally, I probably would have gone for Cheetah, but I was not the boss. And Ares won out in the end and was the one that Warner and DC wanted for this wave. So, hey, Ares. Next up, Cyborg. I guess he's now a member of the Justice League. He was more of a Teen Titans character when we first did him in the line. And he's really what you would call a toyetic character, meaning he's got transformations, he's got, guns and hooks and all sorts of things, attachments that come out of his arms. Really, he's a character that translates very, very well into a toy that's going to appeal to both collectors and kids. Now, you may remember that we actually did another version of Cyborg with the sonic gun, if you will. This version was done for KB toy stores. The reason for that is we were trying to get KB in on DCU Classics in general, and the way it works in the industry is exclusives are a balancing act, and it's about you get a retailer to come in on a full line by giving them their own versions of characters which become customized or exclusives. And speaking of that, we also did another exclusive for KB, which was the Batman Beyond maskless variant. So same figure as the main line, but had a new Terry head and had a new kind of, I guess you call it mask accessory, which I remember when I proposed this to engineering and design, they looked at me like, what are you talking about? How do you do a mask as an accessory? That makes absolutely no sense. So I pulled out this Stan Lee figure that I picked up at Comic-Con a year before, and I showed them the Spider-Man mask. They're like, oh, okay, it's like a sock. Got it. So that became the way we were going to do Terry's mask, and yeah, I guess do it as a sock, as design had put it. And yeah, this was the payoff. You did exclusives for a retailer like KB, and as exchange, they took the main line. Now, a lot of fans may also remember about the DCU Classic Batman Beyond is originally he was shown with wings, but unfortunately the tooling budget hit and packaging limitations hit, and those wings had to be costed out. Years later, we actually did a version which also didn't make it to market. This was going to be part of the Signature series online. And it seems like this version of Terry with the wings just had a curse on it because it didn't get out in the main line, it didn't get out in the Signature series. For one reason or another, it kept getting killed. But when it was done for the Signature series, it was actually fully tooled, and the wings this is almost a final production figure. And this is actually one of the figures I have up in the charity auctions on eBay. So if you're interested in finally owning this sort of a one-of-a-kind version of Terry with the wings, check out the link in the description, and you can make an awesome donation to children affected by AIDS and get this really cool figure. All right, rounding out Wave 4, as I mentioned earlier, Captain Atom, a personal favorite of mine. I like Captain Atom. He was a character DC absorbed, if you will, along with Blue Beetle and Master Kung Fu and some of those other characters from Charlton. But he became, cool in the DC universe on his own, and we even did it. He was the other variant in the wave. This was a 50-50 variant as opposed to Artemis, which was the Chase variant, which was 30% when we had a Chase figure. And then finally, we had our Build-A-Figure, Despero. Now, there's an interesting thing about Despero. He was supposed to provide the body for Lobo, our Comic-Con figure. But unfortunately, because of the way things wound up during the year, Wave 1 of DCU Classics just stood at retail way too long. Essentially, retailers often have to put 40 to 60% of their initial buy, their purchase, against the first wave in order to have enough inventory for planogram set. And that's what happened. So too much of Wave 1 was ordered, it sat at retail too much, and that threw off the whole program for Lobo. So instead of Despero providing the body for Lobo, Lobo wound up having to provide the body for Despero because Lobo came earlier, first in the year, earlier than expected. So they shared the same body and the same gun. And yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind with how the financing worked because putting all that tooling against a Comic-Con item didn't quite come out in the wash, but we made it happen. And so if you look at DCU Wave 4, it had quite a lot of characters and a lot of variants, partially because of those KB variants that we did to get the line into KB. But yeah, it was another cool wave, and Wonder Woman was done, and Batman Beyond was done, and we were off to another great start. So please do share this video. Please subscribe. I'd love to get these out to as many people possible. I'm not doing a Patreon thing or anything, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching.